Thanks everyone for joining us at relatively short notice. Just wanted to take the opportunity to update you on a couple of things in relation to our MOU negotiations. As you know, just by way of background, one of the really fundamental reasons why we are working through this situation is for a very good cause, and that's to ensure that the game of cricket continues to grow as a sport of choice in Australia. And inevitably through this process it is part of a change for the game that involves some modest changes to our player payments model that we believe will allow greater investment in the grassroots of the game, which sorely needs it in order for our sport to continue to compete against some of the wealthier sports around the country. The changes that we're proposing are not just within the area of player payments. We are looking at reviewing our whole business model, our whole operating model, in order to allow greater investment in the grassroots of the game, particularly in and around junior cricket. Throughout this process we've been at pains to talk about the fact that we want to ensure that our players, our elite players, men and women, both international and state and BBL, continue to be paid very well. We want cricket to be a sport of choice for talented young athletes, and we want to ensure increases in payments to those players, and certainly our offers that are on the table certainly are consistent with exactly that philosophy. I've been involved in the negotiations over the course of the last month, and whilst there's been some progress in that time, I guess I've had some increasing concerns just about whether everyone is going at the same pace and dealing with this issue with the same level of urgency. The ACA has, I acknowledge the ACA has put forward a document which known as a peace plan. It claims that there could be something like $30 million that flow to grassroots through that plan. But like any plan, the devil is in the detail, and certainly as we do our analysis on that plan, we find that cricket as a whole is actually worse off, and certainly our ability to fund greater investment in grassroots is compromised by the way that plan is put together. I think we're really at a stage now where we need to address this situation, and cricket needs to get on with the game. We need players employed, contracted, focused on not only upcoming tours but indeed an exciting season of cricket ahead. And the ACA has recently put forward some proposals in regards to a process through this, including contracting around players. We feel that what has been proposed actually jeopardises not only the Bangladesh tour, but then in turn the Indian tour that is upcoming, and beyond that, even, dare I say it, the Ashes tour ahead of that. We are proposing an alternative route through this, and we have today had discussions just recently with the ACA about our proposal in that regard. Our proposal allows players to be contracted in the short term, and for a real focus that allows the fans of the game to have great confidence about not only tours proceeding but the summer of cricket ahead, and obviously all other stakeholders in the game as well to have that confidence. We're proposing that in the short term both parties get together with really strong intent to get this deal sorted, and hopefully by the time early next week we can have the situation resolved. In the event that it's not resolved at that time, we're proposing that any residual matters that haven't been resolved are sent to arbitration. We believe that now is the time for the game to get on, to get played, preparations for tours and the season ahead to happen. And to that end, we're prepared to take residual issues to arbitration, and we're prepared to accept whatever decision comes. In cricketing parlance, we're prepared to accept the umpire's decision and move on so that the game of cricket can be played. And we look forward to tours and a very exciting summer ahead. And we obviously encourage the ACA and the players to take up that challenge. Hopefully arbitration is not required. We can deal with the issues which are on the table and have them resolved over the course of the next few days.
James, what was the reaction from the Players Association to putting together short-term contracts? And the second part of the question is, who would that referee be in terms of arbitration?
Look, I think they probably need time to digest that a little bit more. I wouldn't like to comment on their behalf, Tony, but in the first instance they'll obviously be able to digest that and provide their own response. But in terms of arbitration, if it did happen, I'm not sure who individually may be, but it'd be something like a retired Supreme Court judge or something like that.
James, the union called for mediation months ago. What's changed and why didn't you take up the offer then?
Well, this isn't mediation that I'm proposing here. I'm talking about arbitration. I'm talking about us putting residual issues that are unresolved to an arbitrator to make a decision, and for us and the ACA to accept the umpire's decision, however that lands.
James, have the talks gone back?
Look, they've gone forwards and backwards, Tony, over the course of it. Look, I think the concern that I've tried to reflect in talking to you today is that we seem to be bogged down at times in process and bogged down in strategies that are perhaps designed to slow things down. But certainly from our perspective, we see the urgency. I think cricket fans see the urgency, and I think cricket fans are probably tired of talking about it and reading about it in the newspaper. We need the show to get back on the road. There's big tours ahead against Bangladesh and then India, and obviously a great summer of cricket, Ashes cricket.
So you agreed sort of roughly on money, but can't sort of get to a process as to how to divide money?
No, we're not at that stage. I think there are a handful of issues that are unresolved that need to be worked through. Inevitably, the way through will, at this stage, in my experience, involve some compromise on both sides. But I do see, in my own experience, I do see a way forward. I'm optimistic that both parties getting together over the next few days can resolve the issue, but time will tell.
Just if the ACA don't agree with this, what then?
Well, if the ACA don't agree, then we continue on. But I think that what we've put forward here is a very good solution. It's a fair-minded solution. It highlights where we're up to. There's no doubt there's a bit of an impasse here, but I believe that with positive intent and the right people in the room, we can get this sorted in the next few days. Failing that, we're prepared to say that we put the issues to arbitration, we accept the umpire's decision, and the game goes on.
When's the latest this can go to in terms of not being able to reach agreement on a short-term basis for Bangladesh to go ahead?
I'm not sure exactly of the timelines, but we've in the shorter term, we've got the team gathering in Darwin the week after next for pre-tour camp.
Are you accusing the ACA of stalling tactics?
Look, I'm raising the fact that I have increasing concerns about timelines. We've got a tour coming up with Bangladesh, and I think that it's really important that this issue is resolved right now or in the short term. And what we believe is we've got a very fair mechanism to do that. Best intent and compromise on both parts will see the matter resolved in the next few days.
Is there a deadline, James, for the Players Association to accept your original offer before it goes to arbitration? Is there a deadline before you say, okay, well that's it, we need to go to arbitration?
Well, I think what we're proposing out of this is that we do go into some intensive discussions over the course of the next few days that will hopefully see the matter come to resolution. Failing that, we believe that the best course of action is to get the matter resolved through arbitration and move on, get the show on the road.
You've said the next few days a couple of times, so are we talking by close of business Monday?
Oh, I'm talking about by early next week, yep.
James, you've said that the way that the union has approached contracting around players is actually jeopardising the tours. Why do you say exactly that they've done this jeopardising?
Well, I don't want to go into specific detail except to say that it leaves unresolved issues in such a way that the players may not tour, may choose to not tour, and clearly we don't want that situation. The Australian team is about to tour Bangladesh. It's a very important tour. It's very important for Bangladesh. It's very important for Australia. We need that tour to go ahead, and we need to also start proper preparations for the summer of cricket ahead, both for domestic players and other international players as well.
What's your message for the...
If you haven't been talking the last few days, how have you been?
Oh, look, I don't think I wouldn't say we haven't been talking. We've been talking and exchanging documents and correspondence. But from our perspective, we see the increasing need for urgency to get this matter resolved, and to that end, we're proposing a mechanism by which we can put a hard timeline on it, have the matter decided by someone independent, and for both parties to accept the umpire's decision.
James, just on that, in terms of what you mean by arbitration. Now, I feel that Australia's what they do, this is where you go for arbitration, is suggesting that there's another process that you can agree on someone and that can be legally binding. Have you got legal advice that can happen?
Yeah, we've worked through that process. There's a number of commercial issues that we see as being appropriately defined in such a way that an arbitrator can make a decision.
James, you use the word strategy in terms of what the ACA is doing and its potential to jeopardise tours. Obviously, the senior playing group met in Sydney on Monday. Do you think that is coming out of the players, that they're part of that strategy to potentially put future tours in doubt?
Look, I don't know. I would certainly hope not. But as I said earlier, we certainly have concerns that the urgency at our end is not being seen or reciprocated on the other side, and that's why today I'm talking to you about a way through that sees short-term intensive discussions that hopefully can bring the matter to resolution, and failing that, an independent arbitrator to come in, make a decision, and we accept the umpire's decision from there.
Three more questions.
Your turn, Neroli.
What's your message to domestic cricketers who right now are training without any pay? What do you say to them?
Well, my message to all domestic cricketers is, firstly, good on you for preparing for the season ahead. Secondly, what we're proposing here is absolutely in your best interests. We know that you're dealing with uncertainty in terms of not having contracts yet, but what this process will see, it brings the whole thing to a head. Firstly, in such a way as to have intensive negotiations with a view to getting things resolved by early next week, and failing that, going to arbitration, and at such time allowing players to be immediately contracted so that they have certainty, and then beyond that, as soon as the final MOU is resolved, that retrospectively those contracts are upgraded, updated to whatever is resolved in the final stages of MOU negotiations.
So they'll get back
Australia been involved, spoken to Employment Minister Michaela Cash or anyone from her?
No, certainly we have been keeping the Sports Minister up to date with our discussions.
James, what's the urgency now, given that the players have been unemployed for a month and that you only joined the discussions after they became unemployed?
I joined the discussions before then, but look, I think the urgency is clearly now as the season approaches. We would have.
My point is, how is it any more urgent now than what it was a month ago? Was my question.
Well, I mean, as every day goes by, it becomes more urgent. I would have hoped that over the course of the last few weeks, things would have proceeded in such a way that we would have been able to conclude things. I've been through a number, I think about 5 of these negotiations before, with Tim May, with Paul Marsh, and at times these things can be very complex and difficult, even fiery. But in the end, we've always been able to find a way through. Both parties have been able to see a balance that is struck between the interests of the players and the interests of the game as a whole. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to find that landing spot yet, but hopefully that can happen in the next few days.
Thanks
very much, everyone.
You talk about short-term
Thanks,
contracts.
James.
No, sorry, James.
No, we're done, Tony. Thank you.
When you talk about short-term contracts, are you talking about the end of the domestic summer or the end of our summer?
So in the interim, immediately we can contract the players. Once we are in arbitration, we can put offers to the players, and where there are any gaps, we can retrospectively deal with that as soon as the final MOU is resolved. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.